Jefferson stops his car on the side in front of a road sign, throws his beanie to the ground, swings his fists, and kicks the air in anger. He screams and punches the trunk of his car multiple times. Stephanie is lying in bed with her friend Amy, who has just woken up. Stephanie tells Amy the time and thanks her for sleeping over, which made her feel less lonely. She asks Amy if she wants to move in with her, but Amy doesn't accept the offer because she thinks it's unnecessary, and things are getting serious with her boyfriend Jason, even though they have only gone on their first date. Amy argues that she had a great time on the date, and they have been texting all the time, so things are looking up in her love life. Stephanie is browsing for jobs on her phone, but doesn't have many options, and now her previously annoying job seems better because she could pay rent at least. Amy suggests she get a temp job, which she finds ridiculous, because who would want to do that? Jefferson, who has been sleeping on the couch, is woken up by his friend Curtis, who gives him instructions to reheat some food for himself. Jefferson isn't very interested, because he has a 4-day gig starting today, where Curtis will also be working for a while. They are both saving up for their epic ski adventure, and hope to make it by Thanksgiving. Jefferson puts on a light pink buttoned-up shirt that Curtis has ironed for him, and plays around with his tie for a while as he looks at himself in the mirror. He puts his ski gear on top of the shirt and does a silly dance excitedly about the trip. But before that, he has to be serious and get to work. He is acting much more mature at his temp office job than Curtis, who is listening to music and dancing when their boss H-Wang walks in and assigns them their tasks for the day. Jefferson notices the suit she is wearing, and works his charm on her by complimenting it and recognizing its designer. H-Wang is flattered by this gesture when Stephanie walks up to her and introduces herself. She leads Stephanie to another room and assigns her a repetitive and redundant task as well. But the good thing is that the other temps can join in and give Stephanie a hand, once they are done with their own work. Nevertheless, Stephanie notices that H-Wang expects her to do a lot in a very short, unreasonable amount of time. H-Wang continues to impose authority on Stephanie unnecessarily, and reminds her of her layoff. She insinuates that only bad workers are the ones that get laid off, which is a direct hit to Stephanie's ego, but she tolerates it, because she has to pay her bills and keep this temp job. When it is just the temps working together, Jefferson advises Stephanie to not take this interaction personally, as H-Wang doesn't like girls in general. Stephanie looks at him in contempt as he and Curtis race each other with their office chairs instead of getting started on their work. On Stephanie's inquiry, Jefferson reveals that they usually waste time in their temp jobs doing random fun activities. They don't enjoy being temps. It's more of a means to an end for them, who are actually passionate about skiing. Curtis tells Stephanie about the trip they are planning to Mount Hood, which is a stratovolcano. Jefferson analyzes Stephanie and assumes she is one of those people who love to work, which is somewhat right. She went to school for accounting, which Jefferson finds boring. But Stephanie doesn't care much about the opinion of a person whose life's work is skiing. Jefferson points out that it is not just about skiing, but rather all the new places you visit, new interesting people you meet, and the incredibly unique experiences you gather. These are things that can't be done sitting in a cubicle in an office. While Stephanie has never been skiing, she is more of a field hockey girl, and so is Glenda, who is another temp working with them. Stephanie directly makes it known to Jefferson that she already has a boyfriend, in an effort to shut down the banter. Jefferson responds that he is not hitting on her, to which Curtis rolls his eyes. Glenda explicitly shares her opinion that Stephanie seems to want Jefferson to be hitting on her. Stephanie and Jefferson shake hands and formally introduce themselves to each other. Fast forward to 2 weeks later, they are passionately making out in the broom closet. They are talking on the phone one day while at work, when Jefferson questions her about all the qualities a man should possess for her to reveal her secret sexual side. Stephanie doesn't have a proper list of qualities, but if she is just looking to pass the time, then she would like someone decent but not too gentle. The guy should also like animals and kids, and Jefferson doesn't like where this is going, because he doesn't expect her to be so polite and formal after the makeout session they just had in the broom closet. But all Stephanie wants is to be professional, because she isn't as free-spirited as him. They both shush each other over the phone, to be discreet and funny, and Jefferson wants to know what is it with women who enjoy wild and loud sex, but contradict themselves by never admitting they enjoy it. Stephanie amusingly listens to his rambling and uncensored opinions with a faint smile on her face. He moves on to the topic of them having lunch together, when Stephanie springs up one of the kinks she has upon him. This unexpected piece of information not only takes Jefferson by surprise, but quiets him down and turns him on as well. They go to a sex shop during their lunch break, which is something Stephanie never did with her ex-boyfriend Josh, and this is probably why they broke up in the first place. They goof around the store, playing with all the raunchy products like immature teenagers. The fun continues, as they actually buy the products and try them out on each other. They are in the middle of making out when he pushes her head downwards, but she surfaces up to inform him that she doesn't do that, because she has lockjaw. They make love all over Jefferson and Curtis's apartment, as Curtis once catches them in the bathroom and gets grossed out by them, which doesn't really stop them. Stephanie enjoys Jefferson to the fullest, and he satisfies her in so many different places, from all the rooms in his apartment to his car, and even the bathrooms of the parties they attend together with friends. They are busy doing each other while Curtis is talking with Amy, struggling to maintain her interest in the conversation as she keeps looking over to the bathroom, waiting for Stephanie. Stephanie is trying to go back to their friends, but Jefferson is in no mood to stop, and is very good at convincing her as well. Meanwhile, Curtis uses the pickup line Jefferson tried for their boss on Amy, in an effort to charm her, but all she does is roll her eyes at him and walk away. He even gets her a drink, which she doesn't touch because he already took a sip from it. He seeks out her opinion on the jacket that he is wearing, and when she excessively compliments it, he detects the sarcasm in her tone and takes it off. Stephanie and Jefferson have joined them by this time, as they were busted earlier by a worker, who kicked them out from behind the bar. Later on, when it is just the two of them, Amy shares the confusion she has regarding Stephanie's relationship status. The truth is that Stephanie doesn't know what she and Jefferson are, as they are just trying to enjoy the moment. They are both drunk and sitting on Stephanie's kitchen floor, munching snacks. They laugh about how even the Vegas quotes by Jefferson appear romantic to Stephanie, because she just got out of a relationship that started when she was just a junior in high school. Stephanie sees this version of herself as the new Steph, who likes not being defined as anything by a guy, and is happy with the animal-style sex she has been getting from Jefferson. As Amy falls asleep and snores with her head on Stephanie's thigh, she eats ice cream and thinks about how different she is acting from her usual self. She uploads a relationship update on her Facebook. Jefferson mentions the relationship request Stephanie sent him last night to Curtis at work the next morning. He plans to ignore it until she forgets about it. They are talking about what they first look at in a girl, and while Curtis has a sweet and respectable answer, Jefferson prefers judging women's beauty by the size and shape of their breasts. A woman passes by, and they both check her out, because she has the qualities they both like. Stephanie brings up the request to Jefferson and gently confronts him about ignoring it, as it's been a few weeks since she sent it. She casually prompts him to define their relationship and give a name to it. He is confused and believes that their status is complicated, but she still wants to give some indication that they are involved with each other. Jefferson isn't too worried about this, as it's only been a month of them hanging out, until Stephanie corrects him that it has actually been 3 months of them being together. Jefferson's attitude opens Stephanie's eyes to the fact that he doesn't think that they are dating at all, and she fears that maybe he finds her embarrassing. But Jefferson is very fond of her, and wants to be happy living in the present. He has infuriated Stephanie, to the point that she grabs the corn dog he's been eating throughout this conversation, and throws it away, before walking away from him. Jefferson is drinking during the day with Curtis, and ranting about how Stephanie is punishing him for knowing what he wants. A girl from their high school, Allison, walks by them, and Curtis keeps insisting that he went out with her once, but Jefferson doesn't believe him, and neither does Allison acknowledge Curtis at all, even though he waves at her. They both start talking about different people from their high school, and Curtis contemplates asking Allison out again. Jefferson's mind is elsewhere, as he knows that no matter how he deals with the whole Stephanie situation, it is going to be foul at the end of the day. He emails Stephanie at work one day, asking where she is. She gives him a bleak response, but he keeps the conversation going, and updates her that he is working with H. Wang again. He asks her out on a proper date, with a fair warning that he sucks at dating. Stephanie didn't see this coming, but still is happy, as she grins and blushes. They go to a restaurant, where Jefferson seems out of his element and very nervous. He compliments her hair to cut through the awkwardness between them, as they don't seem to have the same chemistry anymore. But that changes as soon as they're done with dinner, as they keep chatting easily while walking hand in hand on the beach. Back at Jefferson's apartment, they get cozy on the sofa, laughing and watching TV. They both have a really good time, and Stephanie gets up to leave, but they can't fool themselves anymore, and finally give in as Jefferson leaps her onto his bed. But this time, when they sleep with each other, it is nothing wild or unusual, but very romantic and intimate. They even cuddle afterward, and feel good about each other. The next morning, Curtis complains that he'll no longer be able to roam around in his house, because Stephanie will be spending a lot of time there. Stephanie doesn't mind his birthday suit, and boasts that Jefferson is out getting wine and cheese for their movie date. Curtis observes how they cover their bases backward. They start with sex, and then move on to the couple activities. Their conversation is interrupted when Jefferson rushes in with a newspaper in his hand containing Allison's obituary, as she passed away due to a heart explosion. Curtis holds a seance in her honor, and jumps Jefferson when he jokes about her. Curtis is very sad about her passing, because she was his first, at oral sex. Jefferson narrates his one and only horrible experience of falling in love to Stephanie on a date. He lost all self-respect after that, which is why he never tried his luck at love again. He was seeing someone a year ago, but she dumped him with the excuse of self-discovery, when she was actually cheating on him. The waitress takes their order, and Jefferson struggles with making choices from the variety of foods available. Stephanie helps finalize things for him, and he likes how decisive she is. She thinks Jefferson needs some decisiveness in his life too. One day, Jefferson finds Curtis doing a contemporary dance to an upbeat tune, which is a weird choice for the genre, but he is doing it to practice, as now he has decided to become a dancer. He was inspired to make this decision by Allison, as she saw him for who he is, and dance will be now his form of self-expression. Jefferson is shopping for groceries and notices that he is out of cash when he runs into Todd Parker, who is also someone he knew in high school. Jefferson immediately starts talking about how much of a player Todd was, oblivious to the fact that his wife and little daughter are standing right behind them. Todd's wife doesn't hide the disgust she's feeling for Jefferson before she heads to the car. Jefferson hints that Todd had to settle because he knocked up a girl, but Todd clarifies that he actually wanted this life with a nice family. Their other classmates are married and have children too, because they all grew up. Todd takes Jefferson's picture to show the other guys that he hasn't changed at all since school, and then lends Jefferson some money for the snacks he wants to buy. Jefferson sees his wife nag at him for all the things she heard before they drive away. He sits in a bar, looking at the picture he took of Todd's happy family to show it to Curtis, and deletes it. Stephanie arrives with the good news that she finally secured a full-time job with benefits, which Jefferson finds daunting, but doesn't let it show much. He gets a call from his dad Mike, and takes Stephanie to meet him at his docked boat, because he has to get something from him. Jefferson is embarrassed by how his father is high, and gives Stephanie strange looks. Mike hands Jefferson an envelope containing cash from his grandmother, some of which he already borrowed to cover his health insurance. Mike completely gave up on the stable life he had after his wife passed, and Jefferson left home. Jefferson feels very uncomfortable throughout the meeting, even though Stephanie is very nice about it. He later wants to have sex with her, but she takes a rain check because Curtis is around, and she has to go to work the next day. She has made plans for Seta to attend one of her coworkers' wedding together, and Jefferson gets irritated by the fact that she didn't check in with him first, as he doesn't want to hang out with a bunch of stiff people. He acts in a judgmental and cynical way, which reflects his insecurities. He continues to yammer about her meeting Mike without an invitation, and sending him the relationship request. He is angry at her for overstepping, when in reality he is just prepared for them to break up too. Stephanie is done with him being so resistant to growth, evolution, and change. She's looking for an actual partner who doesn't assume her to be just like his ex-girlfriend. When Stephanie storms out of his apartment, Curtis slightly urges Jefferson to go after her, but not enough. Stephanie is eating cupcakes with Amy, who helps her feel less guilty about being practical and acting according to her needs. Jefferson is counting bills to overlook their progress in the money bank for their trip, while Curtis takes a dance class. Curtis believes that they should postpone their trip to next year, but Jefferson is determined to go, because it's the only thing he has to look forward to. Curtis tries to shed some light on the fact that Jefferson shouldn't run away because he misses Stephanie. They go to a bar where they see Stephanie and Amy flirting and laughing with some guys who appear to be their dates. Jefferson gets jealous and drinks a lot, after which he walks over to them and takes Stephanie away, even though he didn't get much of a warm welcome. He drunkenly demands to know who her date is and why she brought him to the bar. Stephanie is glad her date is there, because now she won't make a stupid mistake with her mess of an ex-boyfriend. Jefferson is trying to recover from his hangover when Curtis admits that he doesn't want to go on the trip, because he wants to grow and find himself beyond the mountains they chase every year. Jefferson tries to provide him with solutions, but Curtis doesn't budge because he has to spend his money on rent and dance classes. He lashes out at Curtis for wanting something he doesn't. Stephanie is at work when she gets a text from Jefferson wanting to know where she is, but she ignores the text and doesn't respond. Jefferson is a total wreck, as he openly watches at his workplace and doesn't even pause it when he is caught watching it. He also instigates other workers and disturbs them to the point that security escorts him out of the office building. He comes home to Curtis cleaning the apartment for a friend who is flying in from Canada. Jefferson puts two and two together and realizes that Curtis wants him to move out, because he needs to have a roommate that actually pays rent. Jefferson understands, and Curtis is the only one he has, so they sit in silence and eat ice cream together. Jefferson moves to his dad's houseboat as the last resort, and looks at an old photograph of him and his mom as he lies in bed, while his dad goes on about all the noise the sea lions are causing during the night. He passes by the sex shop he went to with Stephanie and notices a help wanted sign, so he decides to apply for a job there. All he has to do is make sure that none of the customers browse too much, or in the alley behind the shop. He talks to Lorelei, who works there, while she smokes. She is hot, but not looking for anything serious, and that's ideal for Jefferson, so he accidentally asks her out. She eagerly says yes, even though it's unethical, as she is technically his boss. He visits Curtis's house, which is a total mess, because another of their old classmates, Nicole, was eaten by a bear. Her picture was beside Allison's in their school yearbook, and Curtis is paranoid that the void is going to consume them all, one by one. Curtis keeps behaving erratically and holds another seance, while Jefferson can't stop thinking about Stephanie. Jefferson is still going to go ahead with his trip, and Curtis still hasn't changed his mind about not going. Jefferson is working at the store one day when Stephanie visits with her ex-boyfriend Josh. It turns out they're back together. In a very awkward conversation, where Josh gets Jefferson's help for finding Stephanie a new vibrator, he finds out that she goes down on Josh, something she never did for him. Jefferson is more butthurt and envious than ever before, as Josh managed to fight for her and get her, while he's lost her. He finds her drinking alone in Josh's car, and accepts that he misses her and is ready to be committed. But it looks like it's too late now. He begs her for another chance and confesses his love for her, but she's committed to Josh now. He quietly leaves the car, trying to hold his tears in. His clueless and unchanging father is the last straw for him, as he can see that he has almost turned into his father with his immaturity and lack of action. He gets his own place, where he puts up his mom's photograph and organizes the rest of his belongings. He scrolls through Facebook and checks on the invitation Curtis has sent him for his dance performance, which Stephanie will also be attending. He goes to Curtis and begs off, because Stephanie is going to be there, and promises to attend the next one. Curtis confides in him that it will be his first and last performance, because his parents cut him off when they found out about his artistic aspirations. He has to grow up and get a real job now. Jefferson goes on a date with Lorelai that night, which fails miserably, because she has never been on a real date before, and acts very obnoxiously. Curtis starts his performance at an open mic event, as Stephanie and Josh are in the audience with Amy and her date. Jefferson feels terrible for missing Curtis's show and rushes with Lorelai to make it there in time. Lorelai starts making out with someone as soon as she gets there, while Jefferson peacefully enjoys Curtis's performance. His eyes meet Stephanie's across the room, until Amy looks at them in disapproval. Josh also notices Jefferson and recognizes him. Everyone claps for Curtis to appreciate his very amusing performance after he's done. Jefferson has made it to Mount Hood, and is on the road to the lodges when he hears through the radio news that it is looking good for a ski season. Yet for some reason he pulls up to the side of the road and yells in frustration, slamming his fist against his car repeatedly. He recovers from the outburst and sits back in his car to go home. He locates Curtis talking to a girl in a bar, and hands him the money he saved for the trip. Jefferson wants Curtis to invest in his own dream instead of Jefferson's for once, and take dance classes. Curtis hugs him and introduces him to the girl he was talking to. She is his friend Chloe from Canada. Chloe's friend Gloria joins them, and she seems to have the same opinion as Jefferson. They both smile at each other, while never breaking eye contact, and Jefferson buys her a drink, very excited to meet someone who agrees on so much with him. While having another failed relationship didn't give him a soulmate, it made him ready for the right one.